Conformity is a powerful force on our behavior and can at times cause us to behave in ways that, left to our own devices, we would never do. How powerfully does the need to conform influence our behavior? Solomon Asch, the father of experimental psychology, offered us a great deal of new information about conforming behavior and opened many doors for future research. One particular experiment of Asch's focused on perceptual conformity, which is the extent to which humans tend to conform with one another's perception of the world, what we see, hear, taste, smell, and touch. Asch wanted to find out just how powerful the need to conform is in influencing our behavior.
The visual materials consisted simply of pairs of cards with 3 different lengths of vertical lines called comparison lines. On one card, in a single standard line, the same length as one of 3 comparison lines on the other. Here is how the experimental process worked. Imagine you are a participant who has volunteered to participate in a visual perception study. You arrive at this experiment room and find 7 other participants already seated in a row. You sit in the one empty chair at the end of the row. The experimenter then reveals a pair of cards and asks you to determine which of the 3 comparison lines is the same length as the standard line. You look at the lines and immediately decide on the correct response. Starting at the far end of the row away from you, each participant is asked individually for his or her answer. Everyone gives the correct answer, and when your turn comes, you give the same obviously correct answer. The card is changed. The same process happens, and once again, no problem. You give the correct answer along with the rest of the group. On the next trial, however, something odd happens. The card is revealed and you immediately choose in your mind the correct response. But when the other participants give their answers this time, they all choose the wrong line. And they all choose the same wrong line. Now when it is your turn to respond again, you pause. You can't believe what is happening. Are all these other people blind? The correct answer is obvious, isn't it? Have you gone blind or crazy? You now must make a decision. Do you maintain your opinion, or do you conform and agree with the rest of the group? As you have probably figured out by now, the other 7 participants in the room were not participants at all, but rather confederates of the experimenter. They were in on the experiment from the beginning, and the answers they gave were, of course, the key to the study of conformity. So how did the real participants in this study answer?
The experiment was repeated several times. 75% of participants conformed at least once. By the end, participants agreed with the group on the incorrect responses about 1/3 of the time.
The significance of this study shows that if an individual is ready to conform to a group of people that they don't even know, how much more would they in real life, or with things that aren't so clear on what's right or wrong? There were 2 things that are of most significance within this. One, that the power of social pressure was scientifically proven at this time period. And the second one is that it started a whole new wave of studies. And this allowed a lot of psychologists to understand more about conformity and social pressures within a society. So we decided on doing a conformity experiment of our own. When we decided to do this, it was a clapping experiment to know how many people would follow if we started clapping. We decided to do this in Daphne Hall during Vespers. So I started off the clapping within this area before it all started. And then after I clapped here, we had some people here, here, and here that would continue on the clapping. We wanted to know if PUC would actually end up conforming. My hypothesis was that they weren't because it's a college campus and most people are pretty individualized. Here are the results.
Thanks guys. So we did the second experiment outside the grind, and we told most of the people to walk weird, and one of the girls doesn't know anything about the experiment, and they have to walk a distance and see the results.
As you can see, the hypothesis of the first video was successful. We were able to see that a lot of college students did not conform and were all individual. But there was a small group of freshmen that actually did end up conforming within themselves, and they stayed as a small pocket. In the second experiment, you were able to see that the girl was a little bit uncomfortable, but there wasn't enough pressure for her to end up conforming. When you're ready. Dude, stop it! Oh my god! Jonathan! Jonathan!
Yeah, it's gonna be on YouTube.
You didn't make a lot. No!